Yes, thank you. As presented, my name is JC3. I'm one of the authors. The main work here has actually been done by a couple of our PhD students, Katarina Petrova and Mike Rasmussen. Katarina is here somewhere, maybe not in this room. She's attending a conference. Yeah, we focus on user involvement, in this case in interior design of buildings. So our work is based on, say, some assumptions that the quality of a collaboration between the parties on a building project is highly dependent on how good we are to involve users. And for that we need a suitable technical setup to make it possible. Visualization of interior design is one important part of this, or at least that's what we focus on in this study. And then we here investigate how can we use virtual reality for those purposes. Yes, and yeah, some of the reasons, I mean, end users, they are the people who spend their time in the buildings we build, so it's obvious that we really need to involve those in a good way. And we see some limitations in, say, the communication between end users and designers and decision makers. End users are actually not very good at writing down a specification for what they need. They can formulate their needs. It's often necessary to have some kind of iterative process. And I don't know who has the problem if designers are not good at visualizing the design intent or end users are not good at understanding it, but you say traditional ways of communicating a design intent may not be efficient enough. So we see some possibilities to have a better communication by use of virtual reality instead of traditional 2D drawings or whatever we have. Yeah, so we see a lot of development in virtual reality. 20 years ago we had a development with very large, very expensive systems where it was expensive to make models and so on. You had to travel to go to the VR center. Today we see high development in very easy to use virtual reality, very easy to buy and very easy to transport, so you can bring the equipment to the user instead of bringing the user to some special equipment. Yes, and yeah, and again in this case, I mean, the work here is based on a system that actually one of our former students has developed together with us for generally user involvement in the building process to create kind of co-creation environment where end users can participate in manipulating the models for having these iterative discussions, and it can in principle be used for any aspects of building design, but in this case we are studying interior design, and that's sorry, I come back to that. What is virtual reality? There are many definitions. We brought up one here. Why we take this one is, I mean, you often see virtual reality as you say the first part of the sentence here, that it is a way to visualize design intent, user can see it and so on. But what we want to focus on is the last part of it, where the user can also reach into it and grab it and reshape it. So that reshaping part is what we focus on in this case. I will not go in detail with today we have seen a number of other uses and studies of virtual reality. There are many through history. The foundation for our work is that there's a lot of work done in virtual reality, there's a lot of work done in gamification, there's a lot of work done in user involvement in the construction processes. So many of these are the foundation for the system we have developed and for this the study in this specific case. So what we want to do in this case, we want to evaluate the opportunities using virtual reality in this end-user involvement process, study the effect of implementation of this system in this specific case, and try to capture some knowledge about technology acceptance level of involvement and so on. we could discuss ease of use, as the previous speaker also had one of his points. And also, part of this study would also be not the research part, but the study is our own building for our department, and so we also want to create some kind of ownership among the users by involving them directly in the interior design. So the case study is a new building of approximately 5,000 square meters for students and employees at the Department of Civil Engineering. And at this stage, the building, rooms and everything has been designed, so we have come to just making decisions on buying furniture and positioning furniture in the room. So that's the stage where we come in and involve the users. So we did this in a 1.5 day workshop where we identified a number of user groups. So we had different employees, students, maintenance staff, furniture providers, the VR system developers were also there, but we tried to involve as many types of users of the building as possible. And we identified 9 different room types that we're going to make decisions on which furniture to buy and where to put it. The tools we used, we had a BIM model of the building. We had very precise models of some pre-selected possible furniture to use. So we had a selection of possible furniture, so to limit the possibilities for the users. And here you can see some of the setup. So the system we're using, developed by one of our students, is set up with a multi-touch screen where we have the model of the building in a floor plan, and the pre-selected pieces of furniture can be chosen by menus. So people just put their finger on the screen and a menu pops up, and they can select furniture, pull it, drag it around on the screen, rotate, and so on. So a number of persons can be doing this at the same time, and while they're doing this in the same model, we can have some people with Oculus Rift glasses walking around in the building and comment on the decision. So we can see the model from this perspective, from a plan view and from a 3D immersed environment view in the same time, and thus have a dialogue between the people here. So what they did, as I said, we identified these 9 room types, and we divided the people into, we looked at student facilities and staff facilities, but the groups were still a combination of secretaries and lecturers and students and cleaning staff and so on for all room types. And they were then given a relatively short time, 1.5 to 2 hours for each room type to make 3 proposals for interior design of that room. And then afterwards they should present them for each other and then make decision on the final proposal on which equipment to buy and how to put it in the room. So we actually made decision on all furniture investment for this building within 1.5 days based on this. And then for this study, we of course then we observed the participants during this workshop, and we interviewed some of them afterwards, and to see how they received this way of working and what results came out of it. So we conclude, we find that we did have an improvement of this interior design process, and improvement, of course, that's compared to what you could say, but that was the impression of the people who participated. we succeeded in a very good involvement of the end users in this decision making because we had this co-creation possibility. It was actually themselves who moved around the things. They didn't communicate to an expert, try to put it there, and then they looked at it. They could move around themselves, all the equipment. So this gave this good common understanding of the design proposal, and yeah, they had this good feeling of contribution, and thus we believe they have a good ownership of the final result. We also, during the process, identified some areas for further development of the system we're using. There was still many limitations. For example, I just go one back. When they created these 3 different design proposals for each room type, we realized that we didn't have a possibility to save a design proposal, so we printed out and saved it on paper for further discussion. So that's an important point for further development. Yes. So we realized, yeah, as I said, they actually managed to produce these design proposals within more or less totally 5.5 hours work. We saw a high acceptance rate of the system, and we also identified these needs for further development. Besides the system, we had a spreadsheet for calculation of cost, which also helped us in making. We of course had a budget, so we had to track the selected furniture, how much would it cost during the workshop. So what we see, we find a significant reduction, again based on the participating people, their experience from previous similar work. They said it was a significant reduction of time spent for this. We had this good, a combination of decision makers and end users, thank you, which helped the process. I'll speed up then. And I think I just up to next. Oh, there was no more. I'm finished before time. Thank you.